Hi team, Richard Greer here. I'm here going solo tonight. We've got Angus is called in sick at the last minute, so we're going to go solo. But we've got an awesome show for you tonight. We've got Hollie Woodhouse. We're going to have a bit of a chat too around all her different adventures she's done and doing and got on the cards. We've got Arron Perriam, who has got an awesome summer ahead of him in regards to a whole bunch of ultra running, but doing it for an awesome cause. And then we're going to a little bit of a different finish tonight from what we'd originally planned. We're going to talk to James Owen, who's got his 100-mile ultra that he signed up not too long ago, and check in to see how he's going and specifically talk about some strength training and how that's helping him hopefully hold him together to get across the finish line and get that big belt buckle down in Nasby, not too far away. So hopefully you guys are looking after yourself. A little bit of a different Wednesday, I guess, after the COVID announcement and everything that's going on. So hopefully you're looking after yourself, and remember that biking and running and all those good things that you need to do to look after yourself is happening as well. But I'm not going to muck around too long. We're going to jump straight into chatting to Hollie because she's much more interesting than myself. So Hollie, let's jump in. Are you back there? I have to try and push all the buttons at the same time as well. So without Angus here holding the fort together, we'll hopefully get through this in one piece. How are you getting on, Hollie?
I'm good, thanks, Richard. How are you?
Yeah, fantastic. So you're in Tekapo now.
Yes.
So scrolling through some Facebook photos, checking out what you've been up to lately. There's a whole lot of Tekapo going on. How long have you been down there for?
I moved down here at Christmas time, so yeah. I consider myself very lucky to have experienced Lake Tekapo during lockdown. It was an absolute dream, running down the middle of the road, no cars around. But it's a gem. It's an absolutely beautiful part of the world. I love it.
Brilliant, fantastic. And we're going to talk about adventures, aren't we? You're all about adventures. You've done all sorts of different things. You've run in the Sahara Desert in Morocco. You've run 40 Ks through the Amazon jungle in Peru, and more recently Nordic skied across the Greenland ice cap. So some pretty epic things going on there. I want to know about how. Like, we all have these fantastic ideas, but how do you actually pull them off and actually make them into reality? So I want to go into that, but I want to just jump back for a start is just get a bit of background on who is Hollie Woodhouse, and I want you to go all the way back to talk to me about your first adventure. Where did all this sort of thing kick off that you thought that this was a good idea to do?
Yeah, I was brought up, very lucky to be brought up on a sheep and beef farm just southwest of Ashburton. And, you know, for us, it was outdoors was just our life, you know, riding the ponies and biking to school, a little rural community school. So, what I do, I'm a graphic designer. So I did a Bachelor of Design at Victoria, and then sort of travelled, and it was actually, I was living in Sydney. I still wanted to do, I love team sports, so I still wanted to do a sport. But I obviously, living in Sydney, it was a bit harder to do the team sport thing. So I got into triathlon. And then after moving back to Christchurch, it was very easy to morph that triathlon into the trail and that real outdoor adventure scene. I mean, Christchurch's an absolute dream for cultivating that type of lifestyle and those passions there. So it was when I was back in Christchurch, and I dare say probably my first adventure like that was the 2-day coast to coast in 2014. Yeah.
2014. Okay, nice. So like, actually, that's what I want to do, and that's like all the things you've done. That takes a whole bunch of logistics and planning and preparation and fitness and all those sorts of things to be able to do it. So it's a really nice start on that, isn't it?
And it was massive. I just remember being terrified, absolutely terrified for a year about doing the coast to coast. It's this massive multi-sport event that's so iconic, and you know, going from one side of the country to the other, having to learn to kayak, having to buy a road bike, going through Goats Pass is like an adventure in itself. So all those things that come together to do that race, and then the race itself is just the biggest buzz, and how can you not want to carry on after doing something like that?
Brilliant. And you've got a whole lot of people to kind of help you, drag you into it and teach you and learn and sort of go on trips and stuff like that as well. So there's a whole bunch of learning that goes on with that whole experience, isn't there?
Oh, and it's the community, I think, that is the real the real draw card. I was living with a friend, Hillary, and she was doing coast as well. So we were both, immersed in it together. An awesome community based in Christchurch. You've got Arthur's Pass on your doorstep. All those things that make it, easy and exciting.
So started with 2-day coast to coast. We want to talk today about the Greenland Ice Cap adventure mainly, and that's 29 days. That's quite a different story. Okay, bigger, and sometimes is bigger always better? I guess we'll try and find that out. But hey, you've done all these different adventures, these multi-day overseas trips and things like that. What's your why? Why do you go and seek out these adventures? Because I mean, the photos that you share are awesome. But it's not awesome, is it? There's a bit of hurt. It's not all type 1 fun. There's a bit of type 2 and potentially even type 3 fun in there as well.
Yeah, I've had my fair share of type 3 fun and my adventures along the way. But my why is I just love it. I just love where it takes me. I love what you can figure out what the body is capable of. And it's always so much more than you ever think. It's the people that you meet along the way. I think a lot of the time it's actually the journey. It's not the end, even though some of the races that I have done, I've been running over sand dunes in the Sahara Desert, and roll back 10 years, I never would have dreamed of doing something like that, or running through the jungle in South America, or walking across Greenland. That's the biggest wow thing that
you would
it's
never
not
have done it. What was the reason why you never would have done it? Because that's just a bit stupid, or is that because I'm not capable of that? Where are you at with where were you at?
Yep. Probably you don't actually. It's always you do a bit and you learn so much, and then you do a bit more, and it's all about learning. And I think that's where type 1 fun is great because you're in the moment and you're loving it. Type 2 fun, it's the type 2 fun that makes you keep coming back, and then it's the type 3 fun that decides what you don't want to do anymore.
Let's define that type 1, 2, and 3 fun. So type 1 fun is woohoo, look at me. Type 2 fun is this is rubbish. I hate this. But then on reflection, when you sit down at the end, you're that was awesome, wasn't it? And type 3 fun, there's a chance of death, sort of thing.
And I think you need type 3 fun. You need type 3 fun to figure out what it is that you love. And it's the type 2. Yeah, it's the type 2 fun that pushes you. It's where you're learning, and it's where you're figuring out how you cope in situations. But it's also the type 2 fun is what really, it's when you finish and you're standing on that finish line. You're like, right, what else can I do?
Yeah. Have you got a ratio number for us? Would you as a Hollie Woodhouse, a specific of the best adventure that you could hope for, the type 1, 2, and 3 fun? What's the ratio, the ultimate ratio that you've got?
I wrote it down. I'm such a nerd.
Yeah, good preparation. I like it. This is how you go and do these adventures. You be prepared. Like it.
I said a great adventure is about 40% type 1 and 2.
Yep.
Oh, right. No, sorry. Yeah, 40% type 1, 40% type 2, and 10% type 3.
Okay, right. So that's
you need a type 3 just to keep you on the straight and narrow a bit.
Yeah. Okay. So you've got 40%, and then 10%. I'm not that good at math, but that's only 90%.
20. Yeah, sorry. Got 45, and 10%.
Okay, right. Okay, good. I was hopefully there's no type 4 fun or no.
I don't think we'll be coming back from that.
Good. Okay, right. Okay, so a little bit of just where's my boundaries and where's my limits in there is important just as you do it. And obviously there's a bit of slugging out, but making sure you're also enjoying it. As you say, that often that type 1 fun is with the people, isn't it? And also those sunrises and all those awesome things you get to experience.
Yeah, just in the moment. Yeah.
Yep. So this Nordic skiing across the Greenland ice cap involved walking 560 Ks, 9 hours a day for 29 days, pulling a 60-kilo sled. This might be a difficult question to ask, but I'm guessing it's probably more than what you weigh, Hollie.
Yes, it is. And I was.
How'd that go?
Yeah, I'd put on a few kgs. I was told to go put on a bit of weight before I left, so I was 55 kgs. So yeah, I was pulling heavier than what I was when I started walking, and we ate. Half our sled weight was food, so it was less than what I finished with. But after those 29 days, it got down to 47 kgs. So massive physical toll on my body over a very short amount of time.
Were you tempted to eat more just to get your sled a bit lighter to help you pull it along early on?
Yeah, I'm glad we didn't. We were right down to the wire. We had no food left. We had finished our food, and the helicopter was picking us up regardless if we finished or not.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
It was.
There's a little bit of top threeness going on there, isn't it?
Yeah.
So where did you start? Where did you finish? What was and what conditions did you come up with?
Yeah, so we started on the west coast and finished on the east coast, and so we were retracing a guy called Fridtjof Nansen who'd walked across Greenland in 1888. He was the first person. So 132 years ago now, but 130 years ago when we did it, and we flew into this little town, an airport with a building called Kangalusa, and we had a night there, and we flew in the afternoon. We got all our gear sorted and our food, packed our sleds, and then that morning we hopped on a bus and we drove to the start of, as far as we could, so to the start of the ice cap, and then we started walking from there. And heading. We started just above the Nordic Circle and then finished just below. Right.
Okay. Yeah. What sort of temperatures? Yeah. What conditions were you? And wind speeds, all that sort of stuff.
A normal day sat around -20, -25. And the coldest that we recorded was -39.5.
Oh,
and that was. I can still feel it was so cold. My goggles froze. We couldn't see. We'd started early because we were behind, so we were trying to make up kilometers. So we started walking at 6 a.m. and we were in a bit of a blizzard, and it was just freezing. We couldn't see. We actually ended up stopping after an hour and a half, putting up a tent, sitting in there for a couple of hours, warming up, letting the weather die down a bit, and then carrying on after that. So that was the coldest while we were outside. Obviously it would have got colder during overnight and things like that once we were up.
And what about wind speed and stuff, because that obviously takes that wind chill factor and changes the actual temperature quite a lot as well.
So at about day 12 or 13, we actually hunkered down for a day while a hurricane went over us, and I think 130, 150 in the gusts. So I think it needs to be over 130 to be classified as a hurricane.
How's your little tent pegs going in that?
So we dug down into the snow about this much. And so we dug down, and then we used that snow that we'd dug down to build a wall that was maybe 10 meters from our tent. And so when we built a wall that was probably just over a meter high, and so when the hurricane hit the wall, it went over the wall and over our tents, so no snow was landing on top of us. So the only wind that we could hear and feel within our tent was just like the circular wind from it coming around the sides. Right. So we had a guide, Bent, who's based in Norway, and he was incredible. And I mean, it took us just over 6 hours, almost 7 hours, to set up that camp for that hurricane. So we knew it was going to hit us about 6 p.m. We stopped walking at midday and spent 6 hours solidly of just building this camp, and like rope tied. It was tight, like it was like a spider web over top of us, holding our tents down. And then we just hunkered down and stayed inside there for 24 hours until it passed.
Did you look in the guide's eyes? Like sometimes, when you look at him and he's a bit nervous. Did that ever happen?
We've got so much gear on. That was the other thing. We have so much gear on. You can't tell someone's You read so much about a person from their facial or anything, and he had a very just sort of calm expression, so you couldn't really tell from his voice what was going on sometimes, which is probably a good thing and a bad thing.
Yeah. I've got a picture here actually for those people that are watching this of just all the gear that you're rolling in.
Yeah. So we would walk for that was in a bit of a blizzard. We would walk for sort of an hour and a half, and then we'd have a 10-minute break. And so it obviously was still cold, and put your jackets on. Like you get really cold within that 10 minutes. Put all your jackets and gear on, start walking again, and then take your layers off. Yeah.
Because the job is not to sweat too much either, because otherwise it's going to freeze up and ice up, and then you're in all sorts of trouble too.
Yeah, so I had that like inside my head, and on the first 5 days I really struggled. I really struggled physically trying to pull the sled, but also mentally just trying to, I've been very lucky in the fact that a lot of the sports that I do, I am generally quite good. And not wanting to talk myself up, but I can pick up a sport quite easily and manage, but I just this Nordic skiing was next level, and I was slowing the team down, and I just had this really mental battle in those first couple of days to try and figure out how I was going to last to the end of the trip. Yeah.
So there was a few doubts going on in your head, like, how can I actually do that? This is a long way. I haven't even started. Where am I even going to get to? What's the way out?
So much. I was like, there's no point crying, because that is going to get me absolutely nowhere. Just figure out a way.
And it's going to freeze it up.
And I can't cry anyway. It was just figure out a way of getting through each day, and just break it down to the 1 hour blocks, to the lunchtime, to the end of the day, and slowly tick it off, and try and figure out how to be more efficient while I'm skiing, and figure out the best way to do this to make it easier. I have a lot of empathy. I came back and with a huge amount of empathy for people starting out in sports and attempting to do something for the first time, or not being able to pick something up, and just what you must go through, what people go through mentally to then carry on and keep going. It's always those first stage that is the hardest part of anything.
That's right. It's easy to give up, isn't it?
It is
to give up, but you just get frustrated. How do I just keep doing this?
I think I was so frustrated. I was so and so kind of angry at myself that I couldn't get this Nordic skiing quickly, and I couldn't keep up with the rest of the team.
Yeah. Was there an out if you actually really needed it? I guess you would, but like, there's a helicopter probably could come, but there's not really an out there.
You got to spare 10 grand. I didn't even spare 10 grand, so
gotta keep trying. Yeah, good. That's a fairly good motivator, isn't it? What training or preparation did you do prior to going?
Well, obviously I was lucky. I came in with quite a good training base just from doing ultras and coast to coast, but I only had 3 months, so we found out at the start of February and left at just before May. So I strength work. I wasn't naive enough to think that the strength part of it was going to be easy, so I just hit the gym and did as much training as I could. I had a tire that lived in the back of my car in a harness, and I would just find the quietest road possible and put a tire behind me and walk down the road. And and hindsight's a great thing. I would definitely do things. I would spend a lot more time just walking with a tire behind me, loaded up. It's very easy to think, oh God, I'll just put one tire on rather than two, because it's a bit heavy, and I'm getting a bit bored, and I might go home.
You need some friends that you could sit on a trolley to pull them around, sort of thing. You can have a lie down. I wonder.
Obviously, Nordic skiing or something like that. But we were in summer and that wasn't really an option. So yeah, so that was the best.
Nordic skiing background before you started?
So actually Nordic skiing with zero,
Okay.
but was lucky enough to, go skiing as a little critter. So I headed up Mount Hutt often. So the skiing in the snow wasn't new to me, but the movement of Nordic skiing was very different. Yeah. And I wasn't prepared for that at all.
I've got a picture here, and could you describe this for those that are listening to this? What's going on in this particular picture? Do you want me to describe it? You're still struggling to deal with this.
So this is within those first couple of days. We were still trying to get onto the ice cap, and I very naively thought Greenland was flat, and it's not. So to get onto the ice cap, it's where the melt is. So there's lots of mounds and a lot of frozen ice. So I am just trying to pull my sled, and I've got a green pack on because I wasn't heavy enough to put pressure on my skins to get traction to move forward. So I've tried to put more weight onto my body to pull me down so that I can get some traction and move forward. This is
actually get some force to pull this damn sled that's too damn heavy. It's going uphill.
Because you've got to kind of be going about 3 kilometers an hour for your sled to start gliding. And once it's gliding, you're fine. But obviously there was no way I was going 3k an hour during this. And so I was just constantly pulling this sled around me, and being quite small, the harness is not made for a small female body, like a lot of things. And it didn't really fit me properly. And I was that photo gives me the tremors.
Yeah, good stuff. Let's talk a lot about the challenges. What's a highlight of your 29 days in the ice and snow missioning across Greenland?
Well, some of the unexpected things, I saw a snow halo, which is just this incredible ice. It's when the ice crystals hang in the air and it kind of creates a rainbow around the sun. And I just had no idea what these things were, and that was amazing. We were told that there was a building along the way, but that kind of, I had no idea. And anyway, we came across this incredible massive metal structure that was built by the Americans during the Cold War to spy on the Russians. And we went inside, and it was just like outer world. They'd left in the late 80s. I think it housed 100 people, and they just literally walked out the door. There was still roasts. All the food was still in there. Everything. It was insane.
And it was still frozen. Just everything was just
everything was frozen. Yeah,
wow.
It was just as it was, and it was about 4 stories high. And we got there sort of late in the afternoon, which meant that we could just go and explore as much as. So we spent about 2 hours in there just looking around. It was incredible.
Crazy.
Yeah,
that's crazy. Yeah. Excellent. And sorry, Karen.
Yeah, no, and I suppose one of the biggest highlights was towards the end, when everything just started to click, and it was incredible. I know a lot of people do yoga and things like meditation to try and get into state of flow or figure it out. And I think by the end of this, I was so in the zone. I was so relaxed. We'd start walking for an hour and a half, and it would just disappear just like that. And everything sort of came together, and it was just a really kind of surreal, great experience, especially when I had struggled so much at the start of the trip to completely flip. And I absolutely loved that last week. It was, even though we were fighting against so much, it was an amazing part of the trip.
And especially because, as you say, it's such a contrast for how you started.
Yeah, and I think that is why, is because I struggled so much at the start, and then to completely just love the end. Yeah. Yeah.
Brilliant. What's your 1 or 2 key tips for others to create and actually create their own adventures, but actually execute them to the point that you're talking to someone else about them and actually doing them? Because as I said right at the start, it's one thing to actually come up with these ideas, but maybe start trying to figure it out, but actually following through and actually doing it. What's 1 or 2 key things that you would share with others to help them make things happen?
You've got to love it. You've got to love what you do. Yeah, you've got to find a passion, and I just thrive on the challenge or the unexpected, and saying yes, this 5-foot female can go and pull a 60-kilogram sledge across the Greenland ice cap, and it's sort of setting yourself a goal and working your way through it, and then it's very nice when you complete that goal. Yeah,
that's right. And part of it is actually just even having the idea, isn't it? And
well,
potentially
it is
dragging a few people along with you. Do you want to do this as well? All those sort of things.
That is a massive thing. The Sahara was done with my brother-in-law and a very good friend. The jungle was done again with a very good friend and my brother-in-law. And then the walking across Greenland I came across an ad and applied for it. So I think it's making I had set myself up, so when I did these things I was in the right place to do them, but it's a bit of luck and a bit of just saying yes, which ironic. Yeah.
Say yes to adventure, Hollie.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you're the brains behind the Say Yes to Adventure magazine, aren't you? And you've done lots. I've still got, I think, pretty much all your editions of your magazine that you brought out a few years ago. Is there any chance that we might get another one someday?
Well, watch this space. Lockdown did amazing things for everyone. I think, gave us time to reflect and figure out what we want, well, especially for me, and what makes me happy and what I want to do. And Say Yes to Adventure is a massive part of my life, and I absolutely love it. And so watch this space. I'm just working on a little project at the moment, and hopefully we'll see it back. Yeah,
brilliant, fantastic. So what's the future hold? Goals for the summer ahead? Your next adventure?
Next adventure, I think I'm about to be getting on a plane and going to Kenya to do an ultra over there, but obviously that has been put on hold. Like a lot of people's plans. I have signed up to do the Queenstown Marathon. I've only ever done one marathon before, and that was the London, and that was straight after Coast to Coast. I actually think that's the fittest I've ever been, was my first ever Coast to Coast. So now I'm quite keen to go back with the goal of doing this marathon and trying to get a good time. And I'm lucky that I live where I live and have a flexible job and can actually make that quite a priority. So that's sort of the first. That's the goal for this year. Keep me training through winter, which is always good. And then going forward, when I came back it's quite funny actually, when I came back from Greenland 2 years ago, I just said, that's it for a while. I've definitely reached my limit. I reached my limit in Greenland, and no doubt I came back, and huge appreciation for New Zealand, for family, for this amazing backyard that we have. And so I said my goal was to explore more of New Zealand. So slowly been ticking that off, and I think now it's just a great opportunity, as everyone knows, to get out and explore our backyard.
Perfect. Good stuff, Hollie. Fantastic.
Yeah.
No, that's so good. So awesome to be able to chat with you, and thank you for sharing. We'll might need to work on those adventures in terms of that percentage of type 1, 2, and 3 fun.
Oh my God, my partner gives me so much shit about you being terrible at maths, so he's going to love this one.
No, not so much the maths. You brought that up, but more just the balance of type 3 fun and type 2.
Type 1 fun.
Dear. As you mentioned, like that was really out of the box, wasn't it? That going overseas, Greenland pushed you really hard, and then you really appreciate New Zealand coming back and being here, and like you don't have to always keep doing those big things. It's a matter of actually going a bit local and making sure that you get that balance right too with the adventures.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of people ask me what's next, and say, you know what, I'm more than happy to like after lockdown, Jax and I, a good friend, we went to the West Coast for a week and just explored as many trails as we could. That's what I love at the moment, and
Cool.
that's what I'll keep doing. Yeah.
Good job. Nice work, Hollie. Will you look after yourself? Thank you so much for sharing, and we'll keep a wee eye out for that next Day Used to Adventure magazine, potentially, maybe, sometime, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. Thanks, Richard.
Okay, take
Bye.
care. Over and out. Thanks, Hollie. Good job. Just like that, Hollie Woodhouse. Thanks so much for sharing, and we're just going to jump straight into chatting with Arron. Arron, come in. Are you there?
What an amazing woman.
How good is that? Yeah, what a fantastic adventures, and yeah, great to kind of get her insights into what she's up to and what she's done and how she's actually done it.
I'm inspired. It's been good.
Good stuff. But you've set some pretty inspiring goals as well, Arron. You've got a big summer ahead of you. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah. Got a sort of parallel goal. One sort of post-COVID work for Cholmondeley Children's Centre, and we've hit financially pretty hard after the whole COVID thing. So keen to raise some funds for Cholmondeley. So I've sort of put that together with picking up the running shoes again. And I've got three ultras I want to complete in 4 months. So I've got the Crater Rim, and then we've got the Kepler, and then Old Ghost Road in February.
Yeah, right. Okay, massive. And what's your background? What have you like? What sort of experience do you have coming into this? Are you a seasoned runner, or is this quite out of the box?
Oh, look. I'm 50 something now, but back in the day I did it 08, 09. I did a couple of one-day coast to coasts. Have always done a little bit of running just to try and keep the weight off. Not been too successful with that. Did road cycling competitively, sort of grade B, C grade for 15 years and got bored with that. Took out CrossFit for a couple of years. But yeah, in the last 3 years, sort of buried myself in work, put on a lot of weight. So this is sort of my comeback.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah.
And what are you? So you're looking to try and raise some funds. You've got a big mission of doing these 3 events, kind of back to back, effectively. So there'll be a bit of recovery, there'll be a bit of learning along the way. And what's the target that you're looking to try and achieve in terms of fundraising?
Well, a mate and I, Steve Alexander, we've paired up together. He works at Foodstuffs and got good contacts. So him and I are working together, doing the runs together, and we want to try and raise $25,000. So I appreciate the opportunity, Richard, to come on here and share a little bit of this story tonight, and hopefully some of your followers might be keen to support. But look, we've got in Canterbury, there's a lot of children who don't necessarily have the privilege of having somewhere to call home or someone to call mum and dad, and just experience trauma and difficult times. And Cholmondeley Children's Centre is there as an organisation to, support them and their development. And it's a real healing sort of community, if you like. So $25,000 effectively covers the cost of 5 children, 5 families to, have that service for a whole year. So that's our goal: 25K doing those 3 events.
Yeah, and that makes a massive difference to lives, doesn't it?
Totally.
What are these kids like? What happens if that doesn't happen?
Look, it's challenging. Like, put it in context. One time, some of their staff, they went over and picked up some tamariki, some children, and brought them through the tunnel. And when because Cholmondeley's over at Governor's Bay, and when the children seen the ocean, they clapped. And because they hadn't seen water before, and so it's Cholmondeley. I mean, today, for example, one of our teachers in Kura in the school took some of the older children for a hike up from Governor's Bay up to the top of the Summit Road and down into the adventure park, and we picked them up there. So the ability for those children to get out and to experience their own backyard and things they wouldn't normally be exposed to, it just expands their worldview, gives them a sense of what's possible. All that good stuff.
Yeah, good stuff. So really rewarding place that you're working in, and to try and drive that. And as the CEO, the main person leading this, is fundraising a really key part of your role and job? Is that sort of where that is for you?
Yeah, we've got an amazing fundraising team, Richard, but they have to raise 1.5 million a year, and it's a tough job. 80% of our funding comes from the community, only 20% from government funding, and it's become more challenging and more difficult. I mean, we do very well, but every day we're raising about 8K, I think it works out to be, and so. Me doing these events is just one small way that I can get involved and make a contribution practically to the team as well.
Yeah. Fantastic. And you've hooked up with Team CP. That you're part of our community and our crew, and Andy Good is working with you to get you moving and get you running, and hopefully hold your body in one piece as part of the journey. How's that going for you?
Yeah, what a nice guy. Look, if there's one thing I've learned in business and in time, is if you want to achieve something, you've got to have have a good team and have someone in your corner. My Garmin, my watch had gone into unproductive mode. I'd finish a run, I'd go out there and flog myself, and it would say unproductive, and I thought, okay, I'm obviously not approaching this right. So I hooked up with yourself. You put me on to Andy. You wouldn't believe it. Like 3 days into the training program, my watch comes alive, and automatically I'm productive, and my VO2 max is going up. And I thought, okay, so it was things like the easy runs, the recovery runs are way easier than I was doing, and then the hard work's way harder than I was doing. So I just have confidence now, I guess, to dial up the into the numbers, to take that guidance. Someone that's actually, he's pretty enthusiastic, as you are too, and your team, around the goals and what we're about. So it feels good.
Good. Hey, that's good that watch is telling you that you're doing the right things as well. It's thrown in the sea.
Who knows, right? Who knows? But
yeah, that's fantastic. And we've got a wee graphic here of what you're doing. How do we help out? How do we actually get involved? How do we get behind you and support you with 25K by running 3 ultras? Hey, that's not just running 3 ultras. Is how do you what's the fundraising side of things? How are you doing that?
So you're through Give a Little. So you can go to Cholmondeley CEO Ultra Challenge. Search that, and you'll find it, and you can make a contribution through Give a Little. Starting tomorrow, I'll put it out on my own social media, private accounts, also through Cholmondeley as well. I don't know if you're able to post it somewhere. That'd be great.
We'll definitely do it in the show notes at the end. So just have a look at the bottom if you're listening or watching this, and you'll be able to go straight to that.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, no, that's great. No, so and I guess what we also need to do is probably have a couple of check-ins. You've got a big summer of running ahead, so we might need to look at, what are we, August now? You've got October through to the Crater Rim, your first outing. So prior to what's the second one? The Valley Ultra, is that right?
The second one's Kepler in December.
Kepler, sorry. Yep. So Kepler. So we might need to have a bit of a check-in after the first one. What do you learn? Are you still in one piece? And then how are you going? And both you awesome. Physically, but also the fundraising side of things, and how you're tracking through your 25K target.
Oh, that'd be tremendous. And like I said, I appreciate your support, and go to Give a Little, and every penny is a prisoner, eh? It all helps. And it's less about me doing the ultras, but it's more about the future and for those young people.
And I mean, when you're in the depths of hurt and you don't want to do it anymore, and your knees hurt and your bum hurts and all those sort of things, you've slipped over, you've grazed various bits of your body. It's a big motivator to keep going, isn't it? You're not just doing it for you; you're doing it for other people, and you're going to go pretty deep to make sure that happens.
Yeah, there's a mantra when doing the coast. If you can, you should, and some people can't. Or don't get the opportunity, and we are fortunate to have the opportunity, so we should do it, and we should share it.
Perfect, good stuff. Well done, Arron.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time. Thanks for your enthusiasm.
Yeah,
Love
pleasure.
your journey and look forward to sharing that.
Yeah.
And all the best for the build up. And we'll hopefully get the word out there and raise lots of money to make some difference to people's lives.
Oh, you're an absolute champ, and thanks to Team CP for the support.
Cool. Excellent. Okay, take care and we'll catch up soon.
Go well. Thanks, man.
Good job.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Arron. Good job. And we're just going to go straight into our next guest, which is James Owen. James, how are you getting on? What did you think about Arron?
Wow, what a collection of two fantastic people. How about that? I don't know how I'm supposed to back that up.
Tough coming in third
Fantastic.
after Hollie and Arron. Yeah, no, that's right. So, but
wow,
hey,
that's just
big job. That's what you're here for, isn't it?
Say again.
That's what you're here. You're up for a big job. You go well in the tough occasions.
Look, let's throw a hat in the ring and see how we end up. What I make up. Well, I'll just try and make it up with enthusiasm. That's usually the way I go. So
Yeah,
we'll see
exactly.
how we end up. Yeah, but no, fantastic to listen to. Tim, I remember seeing Hollie talk at the 10-year Team CP celebration a number of years ago. And even back then, I hadn't heard of Hollie. And I remember listening to her then thinking, wow, like how on earth do you get to go to these amazing places and do runs and races and things like that, which I thought was fantastic in the first place. And then to see some of those pictures, I remember when Hollie went to do that, the across the ice cap there in Greenland, I thought there was that one particular picture which she was talking about, trying to get the 60 kilogram sled up across the ice. It was just epic. And then to follow it up with Arron before, I mean, goodness me, just to imagine the kids clapping because they've never seen water before. And I love what he said about if we can, we should. And that's something that I really try and do as well, because some people just can't. And that's what I think is a big part of doing endurance sport and exercise in general, because some people would love the opportunity to do it and they just can't for whatever reason. So yeah, really cool to listen to that. I loved it.
Yeah, good job. So you're one of our Team CP coaching crew, but you're also and Friday Drinks with James is becoming a bit of a thing. Sunday something or other as well. And Nelson,
we'll just pick a day of the week, and whatever day of the week it is, I'll think of some sort of beverage that we can assign to that particular day. But I'm trying to make it a regular feature of just whatever's happening.
Good. But it's more than that, isn't it? It's following your journey as well. And as coaches, we're learning ourselves and we're putting ourselves out there all the time too. And you've said, righto, 100 Ks. No, 100 miles. Okay, that's actually 160 Ks. Could we get that done? I'm not sure. Let's go and have a crack at it and see what happens. So 100 miles at Nasby, you've got it. It's less than a month to go, maybe 3 weeks, is it?
Yeah, it's about that. Yeah, so we're getting down to the sharp end of things now, and yeah, like you say, I think to put it into context. So we did the whole lockdown thing, and like a lot of people, it was quite deflating. And for a lot of the people that I work with, it was really kind of open field myopia, to use a scientific term. There's just nothing in front of you, so your eyes just kind of focus on nothing really, and you think, well, where's my direction? Where am I going? What am I actually doing here? I'm a lot of the people that we work with, and myself and yourself included, are really kind of goal orientated people. So when those goals disappear, it's quite hard to focus your effort and to really keep that motivation going. So the 100-mile race was something that, I don't know, it just kind of happened really. To be fair, I just sort of thought to myself, okay, I need to do something. So that was the cheapest entry fee I could find.
You had a Ruapehu run, didn't you, in March?
Oh, yes, that's right, yeah. Yeah, so that's right. So I was planning to do the Ring of Fire Ultra in March, and that was cancelled the week of because of the lockdown and everything that preceded it. So I was feeling really good about that, and then just sort of settled into normal life again through the lockdown, and baked heaps of bread like everybody else did, and and then I thought, no, I've got to do something. So I talked to a few friends about the 100-mile distance, and I thought, yeah, let's just do it. Throw your hat in the ring. And there was one Friday Drinks with James where I talked about just doing exactly that, just throwing the money at it. So I remember just booking it and thinking, oh my goodness. And I told my wife Petrina, I said, hey, I've entered Nasby. And she said, oh yeah, have you entered the 50K? And I said, no. And she's like, what have you done? I said, the 100 Ks. Have you done the 100 Ks? And I said, no. She's like, the 100 miles. And there was just a quiet shake of the head, trying to figure out exactly how much we're going to eat to get through that. But yeah, it's a very different approach, and like you say, I think as a coach, you need to put yourself out there and say, hey, can I do that? You know, like we help other people do achieve their goals and do great things through working through processes and learning and just seeing what's possible for other individuals. But you've got to make sure that you do that for yourself. So I think that's where the 100-mile event came along, and I thought, yeah, let's just give it a crack and see how we go. So yeah, 3 weeks to go.
3 weeks to go, exactly, and it's been a relatively short build-in if you think about a 100-mile event. But doing these things, as you mentioned, like it gives you empathy. You can relate to your people that you're coaching, and it's also, I think, like it's really easy to write down, go and do a 3-hour run. But if you actually know what a 3-hour run feels like, then you'll think twice about it when you actually write it down to say, this is what we want to do today, or this weekend, or in a few weekends' time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and it just makes you think about how when you do an event or when you do a training session, how does that actually affect you sort of before, during, and then after as well? So I kind of like to think that event is, or a training session is not just the training session itself. It's how you mentally prepare yourself and ready yourself for that training session, the physical running, riding, swimming, whatever it is of the training session itself, but then also the part afterwards as well, how you get home, how much you eat, when you eat, how you function, and then how you fit daily life in around that. We've all got jobs and responsibilities and things that we have to manage as well. So we have to be able to function. So, you know, going and doing the 3-hour run, okay, sweet, big tick, I've done that. And Training Peaks goes green, Training Tilt goes green, no problem. But then the rest of the life comes in afterwards as well. So something that I like to think about when I'm actually doing these training sessions is it actually complementing my life? And that's something that I've talked with a few of the people I work with recently, is we're doing this exercise and we're doing training and we're building to these events, which we can do now, and fingers crossed, let's hope that continues. Then is it actually improving my quality of life? And, you know, what can I get out of what I'm doing to make me a better person as a whole, you know, all round? So that's what I'm trying to think about when I do events as well, is where can I go and can I do this distance? And two, how does it make me a better person and a better athlete? And can I pass that on? 3.
Cool, good, fantastic stuff. And the other comment I just want to touch on as well, you've been as part of the ultra running, hey, let's just do more running. So that's part of it, isn't it? And that's the part of the preparation. But the other key thing you've been getting really stuck into is the strength training. So tell us about that.
Yeah.
Tell us what type of stuff you've been doing and how that's affected your running and how you've gone about doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I've said this probably in some videos before, that the strength training is often the one that falls straight off. Like if you're doing a triathlon, if you're training for coast, obviously you want to go and do a kayak, or you want to go for a mountain bike, or you want to go for a trail run, because those are great. Those are the things where you really feel like you're getting benefit because you actually go somewhere, A to B in a distance. But how do you actually do that? And how do you, like if we think about Arron, for example, and Hollie, to actually do that, you need to be a really robust athlete, and you actually need to be really strong, not just physically as in go and pick up that chili bin or that keg or move that log or something like that, but actually the connective tissues within your body actually has to be really strong to withstand what you're asking your body to do. And in the case of 3 ultras in 3 months, for example, and over the summer, that's a lot of wear and tear on the body. So I kind of took a similar approach to what I'm thinking with this ultra, and so I've started doing some actually CrossFit really, and just sort of doing some lifting with Kim from Team CP, of course, out at her place Farmline in Rollaston. And honestly, it's been really cool. I never thought that would be something that I'd be interested in, but I can just feel the difference in my my ability to. I don't feel as sore, and I don't feel. I just feel more robust. And Hollie was talking about a flow state, and that's something that I really try and shoot for, and trying to pass on to people, is that you can get to this space where motion just feels fluid and you can just roll through it. And I really feel like building those connective tissues through strength training and just different kinds of training, some explosive stuff, so some sort of plyometrics, some jumps, some sprints, some climbs, some pushes and pulls, and it just kind of adds, it uses a different energy system, and there's different energy systems in the body, and primarily as endurance athletes, we're working in an aerobic capacity, so with oxygen, but to actually change it up and just do something different and get into anaerobic and without oxygen, or ATP, PC. What's the other?
Just moving differently is super important, rather than just the one plane of movement.
Just trying different stuff.
It's the other movements that we do in a day sometimes that causes those injuries. Sometimes what are you doing amongst your strength training? Sometimes strength training causes injury as well, and just to make sure that you look after yourself there. And that's a matter, obviously, of Kim and the crew to give you some good feedback and technique. What are some of the things that you're doing to make sure you don't injure yourself while you're actually doing your strength training?
Well, I think that's a really good point, because in a previous life, lifting at gyms and things like that when I was younger, bigger is always better, and you're going out there every time to smash yourself, and you're really trying to work towards that hypertrophy, building big guns by moving a massive weight really a few times, so sort of 5 or 6 reps kind of thing. So for me, I'm going more the other way. My idea is to build muscular endurance, so dropping the weight and focusing more on really good technique. And if I find myself, for me, I've got certain sort of cues in my body that if I do any of these cues, like if my left shoulder, for example, if I can feel it in the back of my left shoulder, it's too heavy and I need to put it down. So I think that comes for me from knowing what I've done in the past, and just listening to it and say, you know what, my aim here is not to, my aim is to complement my running so that I can be more efficient and be more robust. So just kind of keeping an aim for your strength training as you're going through, and remembering the goal that you've actually set yourself, and how do you best achieve that with strength training. That's sort of what I'm looking at. Perfect.
Good job, James. So you've got plenty of good training under your belt. You've got some strengths training that you're working with as well. You've figured out kind of, okay, well, I need to challenge myself and put this out there because it makes me a better person, a better coach, and things like that as well. It's kind of down to being fresh now, isn't it? And actually, with 3 weeks to go, be fresh and ready to roll, and then just going to challenge yourself. Is that kind of where the head's at right now?
Yeah, pretty much. I think what's been really refreshing about this is, like Arron was saying before, easy runs are easy, and this is basically just a big mission. And it's a scary number. Let's not beat around the bush about it. Like 100 miles is a long way, but you've got all day to do it. And it's not like you're out, doing a short distance event where you've got to get to A to B as fast as possible. Obviously, this is the aim here too, but to get there as fast as possible is far less intense than anything I've done before. So it's actually been really fun just to get outside and go for a mission. So I'm starting to build my systems. I've got an idea of how much food I can take in, and the body's feeling really good. So I just feel like I need a few more miles. And now that I've got on top of my training, I can actually sort of continue with all of the groundwork that goes with it. So planning the logistics and everything else behind it, catching up with the paperwork, so to speak.
Yes, yeah, perfect. Well, James, I'm really looking forward to checking out and seeing how you go. I'm sure you'll do some Friday drinks and maybe Saturday morning Milos with James as he goes around the course potentially. And I will be looking at to see what your K per custard square ratio is as well across the course of your weekend. So that'll be really interesting to check in on.
Well, that's my next challenge, is to work on a spreadsheet that will spreadsheet all of my food. That'll put in how many calories per hour, and if all else fails, have a custard square.
Well, you've got to be good there anyway, aren't you? And
wash
then we'll also
wash it down with a Ranfurly, seeing as we're so close.
And then also, I guess, to finish off with just to look at what the ratio for type 1, type 2, and type 3 fun will be afterwards. But I don't know if I want to ask you that now. I think we'll wait for an afterwards, a review, and we'll check in on that if there is any type 3 funders and near-death experiences as you're running 100 miles.
Oh, my goodness. Well, I've actually taken the week off afterwards. I've taken that week off work because I feel like there's probably not going to be much fun had at all, apart from eating. But I'll just be, I'm planning to get through it, but it's an unknown quantity. So I'll just have to get to the end and then decide what sort of fun I can actually cope with after that.
Yeah, good. Yeah, fantastic. And it might be a bit useless for work anyway, so it's probably a good option just to wave the white flag now.
Yeah. And everybody was sick of listening to me talking about it, so it's probably just as well. It's more for their sake than mine.
Good job, James. Well, thanks for joining us. Angus has just popped up and put a comment of great moustache there, James. So I thought I'd better share that with you just before you leave. So,
hey, look, I can just see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm learning from the best. Best in the business.
Yeah, good
now
job.
I just need a kit to match the cycling kit from Angus. Good stuff.
We'll work on that. Well, keep doing what you're doing. Love following your journey. Have an awesome time and give it heaps across the course of a whole bunch of miles. And well done. And we'll catch up soon.
Nice one. Thanks, Richard. And great show tonight as always. And welcome back, Angus. And looking forward to seeing everybody else again soon. Take care.
Good job. Okay, and with that, we might the podcast in music, and we'll finish there. And look forward to catching up with everybody next week. Thanks to Hollie, thanks to Arron, and thanks to James for sharing your awesome stories. And check out our notes if you want to help Arron along with his challenge goal of $25,000 for the Cholmondeley Children's Home. So thanks, team. Thanks for joining in, and we look forward to catching up next week.
Take care, baby. See ya.